Hello, and welcome to Discover Merrimack. This is a show that introduces the hidden and not so hidden treasures of Merrimack. My name is Rosemary Rung, and I'm your host, and I'm thrilled to have one of Merrimack's treasures with me today, Mary Pellrine. And Mary is going to talk about the yarn ministry. Years ago, I knew it as the knitting ministry, but it's a yarn ministry, and Mary is the coordinator of the one at Our Lady of Mercy. So, Mary, tell us more about it. How long has it been in effect, and do other groups have one of these too?
Sure. We started this group in 2005 at Our Lady of Mercy. There was a need for community. There was a lot of people who were needing warmth and needing comfort, and babies needed sweaters. And so a group of ladies got together, and we were lucky that Our Lady of Mercy offered their space for us to meet. We meet every week except during the summer on Thursdays during the day, and we have anywhere between 12, 15, sometimes even more, a couple of times less, depends on the weather, that will come and meet. And they've been making a faithful commitment on a weekly basis for almost 20 years. It's really quite amazing, quite amazing.
Well, I really appreciate the ministry because several years ago, I had a friend of mine facing very serious surgery. And then, as you know, my mother was in hospice care for, the good part of a year, a couple of years ago. And to be able to get something that was hand knitted or crocheted to bring them comfort was comforting to me too, to be able to offer that and know that they were cared enough that someone made this for them. What other, how else do you support people with the knitted garments that you make, or the crocheted garments?
Well, it started off back in 1997 with the actual prayer shawl ministry by a couple of women in Connecticut that were going through a fellowship program. And they felt that the shawl gave hugs and comfort and felt like you were getting a hug from a mother. It gave you peace. And when we started the program in 2005, the first two recipients of Merrimack who received our shawls was Tim Gibson's parents. He had died tragically in a helicopter accident when he was a Marine, and Laura Wolf, who died unfortunately in a horrible car crash. And I remember Barbara, her mom, saying how she finally could fall asleep because she had the hug shawl or the prayer shawl that she wrapped herself up every single day. It took us a couple of months for that to happen, but I still remembered that impact, how important that was to these two families. We've reached out to homeless shelters, and we've reached out to Project Linus, which is an organization that started off as blankets, and now they take hats and mittens and sweaters for babies and pillowcases. It's amazing.
Show me that sweater you made. I love it.
So here's this little baby sweater.
Oh, it's beautiful. I love this. It's so cute. So this will go to Project
Linus, and they distribute their items around the whole state. They go to Concord, they go to Monadnock region, they go to Nashua, Manchester, Elliott Hospital. They gave out over 6,000 blankets, just blankets, last year alone. They gather about 500 blankets on a monthly basis. It's amazing, the people that contribute. So Our Lady of Mercy has been a feeder to that program, and Robin, who's the coordinator, she is so very thankful that people are so committed to Project Linus.
And then what other knitting ministries are there? Because is the one at Our Lady of Mercy the only one in Merrimack?
Merrimack actually is lucky to have three. St. John Newman's over on the other side of Merrimack meets. They've been meeting since about 2005 as well.
And there's a picture?
Yeah, sure there are. We're actually having a little brunch after Christmas to celebrate. And our median age, you might notice, is about 75. But, Rita's over 80 and Bev's over 80. And we've lost a few members. Jean Barry over there, she's getting up there too. I'm not sure. I'm not going to spill her age, but I believe she just turned 80. So it's a great group and a great fellowship, and they also contribute to the area needs.
Well, it's a great community just to keep people involved, no matter how old or young they are.
Right.
This is great.
Right.
And then do you And you said there's a third one. So there's Our Lady of Mercy, St. John Newman.
And the Merrimack Library.
The library has one.
Sure. So
That's
on
great.
Thursdays, they meet 2 to 4, right over there in the Lowell room.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually joined them one time because one of our knitters who just turned 94, Connie, she can't do the stairs any longer. So she will meet at the library. And so I went over there, and oh, what a great surprise it was to see her. And they just sat around, and people were making hats, and pretty much hats there. Yeah.
Now, you shared a letter you got from a recipient or recipients of some yards, and it came from overseas. Was it an army?
Sure. So one of the things that we do here is we donate these. Oh, she can't see. We'll see the picture here. I'll tell you about the picture. So if you look in the picture, there's a gentleman that's actually taped to the gun. That's quite hilarious. But he is the platoon leader for Red Platoon Annihilator Company, and they are overseas. This letter came from Poland, and he wanted to say how the little scarves and other donated items to the U.S. Army are very well received. So it was really kind of nice to have that note of appreciation. So talking about the scarves, up at St. James Methodist, St. James.
Yeah, St. James.
Yeah. Up in the north
across
part
from
of
Homestead.
Right, across
Yeah,
from Homestead. Louise Yetten is the coordinator up there, and they collect these military scarves.
Oh.
So they're made to be 36 inches long, so you can just slide them in the pockets, and so that the veterans will receive these when they're coming back into the States, like if they've been deployed over. So they continue to collect these, and now they're going to give them to veteran homeless shelters locally, including women. So, the deal is dark colors. Purple's even good because, we know we just have women and men in our military, so we don't want to exclude anybody. And sometimes you'll see like military hats that are made like this, and they'll take that as well.
I can make that, Mary. That's
you certainly
not too
can.
hard.
Yeah, you can make that.
Yes, I
easy.
could do that.
Well, this one might be a little bit more challenging, though, Rosemary.
I don't know if I can do that one.
This one's easy. If you know how to knit and you know how to purl, you do, right?
Oh, yeah.
You can make it.
That's what I do.
So this would be used for chemotherapy.
Oh, okay.
So we have down in Nashua at the Norris Cotton Center. They're always in need of chemotherapy caps. So we will collect the chemotherapy caps. The difference between, say, this hat or this hat here and this one is the type of yarn that you use.
Okay.
So really soft yarn for chemotherapy. When people have no hair, we think they get cold, but they also have a sensation issue where their skin is very sensitive. So the softer, the better.
Now, this is fascinating, Mary. This is great. So my question is, like, you have all these people, these women. I'm sure men could come too.
Yeah, so far we haven't been able to hook
really?
We haven't been able to hook them in. Yes, exactly.
So you meet together and you crochet or knit these items, but can people do them at home and just give them to you?
Yes, in fact, we have a couple of ladies, they're twins, that live up in Washington, New Hampshire. And so for the longest time they would come down. That's over an hour.
Yeah.
For every meeting, but then COVID happened. So most of our knitters actually knit from home.
Oh,
or crocheted from home. You can do both. So Kathy this year had, well, actually for 2022, she had this goal, New Year's Eve goal, to make 365 hats, one a day.
Really?
One a day. She met her goal in August.
You're kidding. Oh my God.
So she came in just before December with bags and bags of her hats. She had over 365. She had close to 400 hats, I believe, in that bag.
Wow.
And those went to the veterans. There's a hospital, like outpatient clinic that they go to, and so a lot of hats went to there. A lot of hats went to this organization called Boxes of Love for the Homeless. I'm not sure if you've heard about that, but they're an organization that's based out of Manchester. And they go to different communities, Manchester, Concord, Rochester, Laconia, places that are underprivileged. And they have these community days where people come in that are in need of food, haircuts. They'll wash their hair, they'll cut their hair for free. They have items like hats like this that they can have. And so it started off, they put things in a box, so that's called boxes of love.
Yeah.
They include so many things that you just take for granted that we can get every day that they can't get. Lip balm, it's just simple lip balm, that kind of thing. So the hats go to so many places. It's wonderful. It's really wonderful.
Now, where do you get all the yarn? I mean, do people get all this yarn on their own?
Well, AC Moore used to be a great place for yarn.
I loved AC Moore. I miss it.
So people will go to Michael's. They'll go to Hobby Lobby. They go to Joann's. Those are pretty much the big things. But it's amazing. You just take a thing of yarn like this and a hook or a set of knitting needles like these ones. These are in the round.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you start and you're sitting in front of the TV. Maybe you're watching a Super Bowl. Maybe you're dropping stitches. I don't know. When you make your items while you're intense.
I dropped 2 stitches yesterday on this baby blanket. So I said, you know, it was during the tie in the game. I said, Rosemary, put it down. Wait until tomorrow when you have more light and get out your crochet hook and pick up the stitches.
Some people will knit when it's nice music in the background, but if you want to knit fast, just put on some really good rock and roll. You can really go to town. Or if you want to be nice and quiet, put on some lullaby music while you're making your baby sweater. And then you can just be like,
Well, you know, Mary, I have a yarn stash. Okay, it's not as bad as my bead stash, but I have a yarn stash for knitting, and it's getting yarn on sale. I had gotten some yarn from a friend off of Buy Nothing, which is a great site in Merrimack, Buy Nothing site. It has some bling in it, so I don't really knit with bling, but you take donations too, right? Of whole skeins, right?
Right, the whole skein. New skeins. We've gone through. People have donated.
The label fell off of this, but it's still,
that's okay.
It's a full, So it's these because if you have something, like it'll take 2 probably for a scarf at least. So
you've got a good judgment there.
Yeah,
like if you made an item that's small, like these little hats, it doesn't take much.
Right.
And I just used a couple of different scraps of balls of yarn to make that because you don't want to leave any ball behind.
Right.
We have like that hoarding thing.
Yes, we have a hoarding thing. Now, if somebody wanted to kind of thin out their yarn stash, how can they donate the yarn to you?
Well, they can offer it up at the Our Lady of Mercy Religious Education Building.
Okay, because that's open every day during the week.
Yeah, they're not open on Fridays, but they're open during the day, and they'll take your donations and save it aside for us. And when that happens, have you ever been in a candy store?
Yeah.
These ladies are worse than being in a candy store, I'll tell you. They're like drooling at the bit, and they're all like, we put them on the table, right, with the big donation right there, and they're out there, and then we have to try to sell some yarn. Like, you like this kind, right? Like that Lion brand
This one, yes.
This one here. This is what the original shawls were made with.
Oh, really?
The homespun.
Okay.
But what happened was, this is kind of pricier yarn. So people, a lot of times, were on a fixed budget.
Yeah.
And so they couldn't afford to buy this yarn. So they developed other patterns that you could make with other types of yarn. So like this is a shawl that Irene had made.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it's just absolutely gorgeous. See, so she. Oh. Yeah. So you get
wonderful.
the
Look
colors
at that.
and so pretty. And so this shows you that you don't have to just do a basic stitch. You can be creative with your stitches, and she's always coming up with something wonderful.
That's beautiful.
Of course, there's the blue for Merrimack, right?
Yes. Well, it's nice to know because donating this, I feel good. I'm helping a good cause, and it's creating more room that I could buy some more yarn. So any of you that have extra yarn stash, get them to Our Lady of Mercy. And probably at the end or beginning of masses, they could probably put it in a bag if they're during the weekend.
Sure.
That sounds good. So, we were talking earlier, Mary, before the show began, just about the origins of knitting, and when was knitting invented? I mean, how do people know?
Well, isn't that interesting? Knitting came about probably in the mid-Asia area. And probably before Christ was born, which is amazing. BC.
Yeah.
But they can really kind of trace it back to the early 1000 AD.
Wow. Okay.
That's when they were able to locate the textiles that hadn't disintegrated. And here's a picture here on the screen that's talking about how it was developed in the church. That's Madonna. That's supposed to be Madonna knitting. It's a famous painting. because they made the vestments for the priests.
Oh, okay.
And
then there
for
was
the tables, for the altar, that kind of thing.
And then there was you shared a photograph with me of socks on a line.
Sure.
But
this is the first textiles that they could identify. The interesting thing about the textiles is they used organic materials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So organic materials disintegrated. So they don't really have a good history of nothing preserved back then. Yes.
There was another picture of the red socks that it looked like it might have been from
that's
I don't know, like a camel.
ancient. Yeah. I guess people do that nowadays. They call them turtle toes, where they wear their socks on their sandals, and it goes right between. But those have been perfect.
Yeah.
That was made for your big toe there. But I don't think they would be that comfortable. We certainly come a long way in knitting socks.
That's for sure. And one of the nice things about knitting things, I think you always, especially if it's hand knit, you always will remember it's not just the comfort the item brings you or the warmth, but you remember the person or the situation where you got it.
Sure.
And it's hard to let go of knitted items that you have. I mean, I've seen some things I've had. It was a sweater that my father had given my mother, and this had to have been maybe 60 years ago, over 60 years ago, 70 years ago, and has a hole in it, but I am not giving up that sweater.
Yeah, but you could probably repair that hole.
Yeah, I could probably repair it. It's a little small. I don't think I'd wear it, but I just like keeping it. It's like a loved item.
Sure.
And I think that's what the beautiful thing of these, because you're sharing love with people, Mary. You're sharing love with people that are in a spot where they really could use that extra love.
Yeah, and a lot of people are pretty low.
Yeah.
And when you give them an item that was made with love, because these can be washed a gazillion times, but when they're made with prayers, they're made with positive thoughts, they're made with good blessings, and they can never wash that away.
Right.
It always stays with the item.
That's a great segue into a video that we're going to show of one of the yarn ministries. This is at Our Lady of Mercy, where you can hear directly from the women that are really pouring their love into these items.
So here's our group from Our Lady of Mercy: Denise, Jerry, Lori, Patty, Louise, Sandy, Lainey, Karen, Irene, Elaine, and Millie, and myself, Mary, who's here with the interview. These girls come every week for many years and join in fellowship of creating beautiful items for our group. And we give our items away to people in hospitals, chemotherapy centers, homeless. The veterans get scarves, babies, etc. So does anyone want to say something about their experience?
The things that we do. Here's this hat that we make, and they go around. Mary delivers them to schools and the veterans. We make them for men and so on and so forth, and it's just a lot of fun and very rewarding.
We make shawls. This is the beginning of one, and people in nursing homes love them. And very rewarding to help those people. And I also make lap gowns and hats for the veterans in red, white, and blue, and bring it to the medical center at the VA.
We also make chemo caps for those that have been given a diagnosis and hope that that keeps them warm and toasty through their treatment.
Lane's making a baby blanket here, and it's going to be
actually it's a shawl.
It's a shawl, okay, with a little accent of pink. Beautiful. Millie's a shawl maker. She does lots of shawls, and she helps the church have them available for people who are going through a bereavement of some sort. And Jerry, she loves making hats for men.
Many hats, many hats, especially for homeless and veterans. And I also do the chemo caps and women's hats, but hats all the time.
So come and join us.
I make the shawls for the veterans and enjoy doing that.
So here's our group. They're a wonderful group of ladies. They're not all here today, but this is a great representation of who we are. Woo!
What a wonderful group of women, Mary. Oh, it looks like so much fun.
And we've had pool parties in the summer.
Mm-hmm. So it's a community.
It's a community.
That's great. Now, if somebody watching this wants to get involved or learn more, where can they go? Where can they get that information?
Well, if they go to the Our Lady of Mercy website,
Okay.
olmnh.org, there is a knitting ministry tab that they can check out there. And
Okay.
it gives instructions as to when we meet and a little bit about our group.
That's great.
Yes.
Oh, this is wonderful, Marion. It's such a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
You were just one of my favorites people. You're just wonderful. So thank you all. If you have yarn that you want to donate, you can drop it off at the Our Lady of Mercy Religious Education Center during the week. They're right next to Town Hall. Or you can drop it off, maybe put it in a bag with a note and leave it in the parish during the weekend for Mass. And if you want to learn more, if you want to participate, please go to the Our Lady of Mercy website and look up Yarn Ministry. But thank you so much for joining us today.